Hello ladies and gentlemen of YouTube, my name is Brad. This is my channel Animate Orange, and today we are going to review one of the Star Wars helmet models from Metal Earth, specifically the Darth Vader model, as you can see here in all its scratched up glory. This was a bit more difficult of a model than I expected it to be. This is my first helmet model from the Star Wars helmet lineup, and it is one that Metal Earth sent me to review. So that's why I have it. I haven't actually purchased any myself, but they sent me a couple to review, and I started with this one. And I think I'm glad that I did. Rather excited about it. Darth Vader's helmet, that's pretty cool. But not to bash it or anything, but it was a bit more difficult than I expected. And a lot of that comes from interpreting the instructions. When I say interpreting the instructions, you're basically talking about putting a three-dimensional model together using two-dimensional instructions. And with some of the shapes on this, it's very easy to misunderstand what the instructions are trying to say versus what you need to do, especially in certain particular areas. And we'll talk about that here in just a second. I found myself, when I was building this model, the first thing is you make kind of part of the side of the round part of the face, the back of the head sort of, and you make the face. Those are the first two parts. And then you have to join the majority faceplate to the rest of the rounded back of the head. And that faceplate has several different angles and twists to it. And it is not immediately clear how to do it. The instructions help a little bit, and it's fairly obvious that they're only going to help so much because, you know, you're talking about a flat piece of paper. But as you put the two pieces together, the side pieces kind of show you how you're supposed to angle some of that out. And that wasn't difficult to figure out. They came together fairly easily. It was a little challenging getting the tabs lined up, and for whatever reason the centerpiece behind the nose was the hardest to get into place. Not that bad. But when I got to the eyes, or the eyepieces, in here is where I had the most, well, it's where I had my first big problem. The eyepieces, it's a flat piece with a strip that comes out, and you have to kind of curve the eyepiece and curve that flat piece around and connect the tab. And the way the instructions show you, they show you which way to face the colored or black side, but it's easy to misinterpret the instructions, whether you're supposed to fold the side piece back and then curve the part around, or fold the side piece forward and then curve that strip around. And I did it wrong. I think a lot of people do. I know. I ended up reaching out to one of the Metal Earth family on Instagram, Code Wookie, aka Nate, for assistance, because I know he had built the model, to see if he had the same kind of trouble. Because I'm looking at this and I'm looking at the way the instructions, and I'm thinking it should fold this way, but when I folded it that way and went to put it into place, it doesn't fit. It doesn't seem to want to work. And I'm thinking that I've got something wrong, and before I just completely screw up, let me reach out to somebody and see if they had the same issue and how they interpret it. And that's what I did. And thank you very much, Nate, Code Wookie, for helping me out with that. Basically had the same problem I did and saw the same thing I did. It's debatable whether or not the instructions are maybe backwards, or whether or not it's just difficult to write them. That's debatable, but I'm not going to debate that here. Basically what it boils down to is that the black side facing out towards the camera, you fold the side piece forward, and then the top part curls around, and those eyes are sunk in. That's the way it's supposed to go. That was not so obvious right off the bat, and I did it wrong, and that caused me a lot of headache and slowed me down. The next challenge when building this model was this sort of breather grill area right here up front, this kind of triangular piece. And one of the things is the side pieces fan out a little too much, and that's not completely uncommon with Metal Earth models, is with complicated angles where you have to kind of pull things together to connect stuff, and that pulls the model together ultimately. And it's a little bit more extreme than usual, but to make it more complicated, if you look up and kind of under the nose here, there's a silver section. That silver section fits just barely under that nose piece, and without going behind everything, because there's another metal piece of the face behind that. And when I first got it in there and got the two side tabs connected and things bent in, it was too far back, and I had to undo it and redo it. And that was a little bit of a challenge, getting that in without it popping apart and the two tabs folded. And beyond that, you've got this kind of neck area that comes together fairly easily, and then you start to turn your attention to the upper part of the helmet, and you run in to your next thing. This dome part shapes very much like R2-D2's dome. It's not that complicated. Just kind of give it a little bit of a curve, fold the tabs in, and connect them one at a time and going around, and it comes together. I put a little extra curve in it using a dowel rod once I connected it to make it a little more rounder. But then you get into this piece that goes around the outside and this sort of eyebrow area, as I've heard others call it. And that's where I just plain made a big mistake. It's just really no excuse and or explanation, but I was just an idiot, and I tried to put this outer piece under the top dome, and that just caused me way too much headache. And this center part here kind of has an odd curve to it, and it doesn't make a lot of sense at first, and I ended up completely messing that up. This is not actually connected, it's just kind of laying there, but there's just sort of an odd little curve or bow to it, and then this thing wraps around. And I tried to get that at first, and I tried to put it on the inside, and that just completely messed everything up. Finally realized how stupid I was and what I did wrong. Took it back out, folded the tabs the other way, and put it around the outside. And that's one of the main reasons there's so much scratching along the back of this, is because I just plain goofed that up. And it also meant that this bow here was kind of messed up and the tabs misaligned, and I couldn't quite get the two tabs into that as they want you to, and I just kind of left them hanging there. So the eyepieces are a bit difficult, the grill piece is a little bit difficult, getting this around the side, I made it way more difficult than it needed to be, and that's just my own fault. So if you go watch the build video, and there's a link in the description down below and here, at the very end of this there'll be a link to the build video that I do of this, and you can take the time and watch me just completely mess that up and then turn around and pull it off and put it back together. I've learned a lot about recovering from mistakes, and it's paid off greatly when I mess up, because I do mess up. I'm not perfect, and that's kind of what I do with this channel, to make these mistakes so that you don't have to. And that leads into this next little bit where I talk about this took me almost 2 hours to build. It's like 1 hour and 50 minutes altogether. Really shouldn't have taken that long. I'd like to do it again. I think if I were to do it again, I maybe do it in not quite half the time, but maybe an hour. And I certainly think that if you take these tips and mistakes that I made, if you go watch the build video and see what I did wrong and what I should have done, you could probably finish this up quite a bit faster than me. Overall, I love this model. This is amazing. It's amazing how well this comes together. Even though I kind of messed up and I gave myself some trouble, and there's some scratches, that's a really cool model. I really enjoy it, and I would like at some point to do it again and do it properly. I'm told it is very easy to scratch, and a lot of people end up with scratches, and then you can take a black marker and kind of touch it up and make it look a little bit better, which I eventually plan to do, but I couldn't find my black marker, and I really want to get this video made. So, you know, at some point maybe on Instagram I'll put some black marker on it and throw a picture up for you to see. But I love this model. This is really awesome. And now that I've made the mistakes and know better how to build it, now that you know what not to do, probably be a lot more enjoyable model. Second time for me, first time for you. Probably be a lot more enjoyable model to build. The instructions again are debatable whether or not some of it's a little bit backwards, because that has happened with Metal Earth and other 3D metal models where two identical or mirror pieces were switched in the instructions and put together wrong, and you just had to go, hey, that's not right. So did somebody kind of goof up and something is backwards, or is it just difficult to interpret? I'll leave that for you to decide if you decide to build this model. But if you like this idea of the Star Wars helmets and you like these Metal Earth models or 3D metal models, certainly put this thing together. If you're a big Darth Vader fan, please put this thing together. This is awesome. And learn from my mistakes and do a better job than me. I'll leave it at that. As always, thank you for watching. If you enjoy these videos, consider becoming a Patreon supporter. A little bit goes a long way. Or if you just want to give a tip for this one video, there's a link to my Ko-Fi down in the description below. Thank you for watching, and keep on keeping on.